Hi everybody, welcome to Hiking Misadventures. I'm really excited to be doing this series of videos on how I'm preparing for the big road trip. Mostly because I've been doing a lot of work and I haven't really shared that information with anybody, but also because it makes me feel like the trip is getting closer even though it's still months away. So Ricardo and I are hiking some amazing, beautiful places in the 5 weeks that we're going to be gone, but 3 of those hikes are extremely popular and required us to get permits. So in this video, I'm going to focus on the process that we use to get those permits and also share some tricks and tips that we learned along the way, which hopefully will be helpful to you as you plan your next big trip. So the 3 hikes that we had to get a permit for were Mount Whitney, Half Dome, and the Wave Trail in Utah. And all of these had a lottery process, but they were slightly different in how you submitted your application and where you submitted your application through. And I'm actually happy to say that we have permits to hike both Mount Whitney and Half Dome, and we'll find out on June 1st whether we were lucky enough to get a permit to hike the Wave Trail. So I'm actually going to start with Mount Whitney because it was the most challenging permit to get. This is a very popular hike and it only keeps growing in its popularity. To hike Mount Whitney between May 1st and November 15th, you do need a permit, and the Forest Service awards these through a lottery system. So it's really important to plan early and keep track of these deadlines, because if you miss it, you'll most likely be out of luck for the year. The Mount Whitney lottery opens on February 1st and closes on March 15th, so you have to get your application in by that time, and it can be anytime during that date range. And the next thing that you need to know is that there are 2 types of permit. The day use permit, which will give you 24 hours to hike the 22-mile round trip, or the overnight permit, which will allow you to camp on your way to the summit and back, depending on the number of nights that you've requested. And it's really important to indicate which type of permit you're asking on the application, because there are strict quotas on how many permits per day that they provide for each type of permit. So it's 100 permits a day for the day use one and 60 per day for the overnight one. The application process is fairly easy. You submit a very short application online at recreation.gov, and you can also list up to 15 potential dates that you want to do your hike. And I would actually recommend picking all 15 dates because it'll just improve your chances of actually winning a lottery. On March 24th, you'll find out whether you got lucky or not in winning a lottery spot. And if you were lucky enough to get a spot, then you have one more step to take, which is between April 1st and 30th, you have to either accept or decline the dates that you were given, and then pay for the permit fee itself. Now, if you don't respond by April 30th, then your spot will be canceled. Now, if you are one of the unlucky people like us and you didn't get a lottery spot, don't fret, because you actually have 2 additional chances to try to get a permit. The first of those chances is April 1st, when there is a mini online sale of all the remaining spots that weren't awarded during the lottery. And it's really important that you're on your computer at 10 a.m. because when we tried to get a permit through that, in the first couple of minutes, the dates that we were eyeing were already sold out. If your unlucky streak continues and you didn't get a permit, you have one more chance to get it on May 1st when the Forest Service releases all the canceled and declined lottery spots for the public to reserve. One thing we did have to do was be flexible at this point. We originally wanted to do this as an overnight hike, but we had to switch it to a day permit. And then we also had to settle for a date 10 days later than we wanted. So the next permit that we had to try to get was for Half Dome, and we actually got lucky and got this one on the first try. Even though it is very challenging to get a permit, just like the Mount Whitney permit, Half Dome also has 2 different types of permits, one for day hiking and one for the overnight hike. So if you want to do this as a day hike, you have to enter the pre-season lottery, which opens on March 1st and is open through March 31st. And again, it doesn't matter when you submit your application because there's only one drawing, and you get the results of your application in the middle of April. If you want to do this as an overnight hike, then you have to submit an application for a wilderness permit. Now, you can submit that 169 days ahead, but the deadline is 168 days before your hike at 7 a.m. One thing to note about this one is that you have to fax this one in. You can't complete it online. The good news about this is that you'll find out your results in 24 hours, so you don't have to wait long. The other thing about this permit is that you actually have to pick up a physical permit at a permit office the day before your hike. So keep that in mind and plan that extra time. So the last hiking permit that we applied for was for the Wave Trail. This is an extremely popular hike, and they get applications from all over the world, but there are only 20 slots available per day. And the online lottery system only processes applications for 10 of those slots, and the remaining 10 are done through a walk-in lottery system the day before. This was a very confusing process to navigate. So the online lottery opens 4 months in advance for the entire month that you want to hike in. So for example, if you want to hike on a day in April, you have to submit your application in December. And the lottery is open from the first of the month to the last of the month. And then you'll find out the results of the lottery on the first of the following month. So in this case, you would find out on January 1st for a permit that you applied in December to hike the trail in April. And I'd recommend waiting until the last day to submit this one, because at the end of the application they have a tally of all the applications that have come in, and they rank it from the most popular requested date to the least popular, and they also give you the number of applications that have come in for each of those dates. So if you wait until the last day to apply, then you can actually see what days are popular, and you can pick one of the least popular dates with the least amount of applications. With only 10 slots available in the lottery system, you're more than likely going to be one of the people who are unlucky and didn't get a permit. But if you have some flexibility and if you're going to be in the area, you can show up to the Grant Staircase Escalante National Monument Visitor Center the day before the hike, and you have to get there between 8:30 and 9 a.m. for a 10 a.m. walk-in lottery, and 10 of the 10 remaining slots are handed out through that lottery. There are nominal fees associated with all of these applications and permits. So the lottery application fees range from $5 to $10, and then you have to pay a separate permit fee if you actually won a slot, and those also range from $5 to $10. There are also some very strict rules about the application process, so please pay attention to them. Otherwise, your application might be canceled and you will not be able to compete in the lottery. We have a lot more details about all of this nitty-gritty information on my blog at hikingmisadventures.com, so make sure to check it out.
If you like this video, please remember to hit subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook now at Hiking Misadventures. Also remember to sign up for my blog at hikingmisadventures.com.